Live from the great American Southwest in the city of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm Todd Hartley. I'm the executive producer of Breast Cancer Answers, and this is the international broadcast of World Cancer Day. You know, I've been a live on location reporter at some of the biggest moments in history, like presidential debates and inauguration, the crazy recount in Tallahassee, Florida between Bush and Gore in 2000, and the World Trade Center. But today is the biggest honor of my career because with the help from our friends at Google and leading cancer experts all over the world, we're increasing awareness to people, and we're able to do that in a real-time manner that everybody's able to have. So this today is an honor of a lifetime, and I'm also honored to be here with Dr. Jay Harness, past president of Breast Surgery International, the past president of the American Society of Breast Surgeons, and the medical director here at Breast Cancer Answers. Dr. Harness, healthy World Cancer Day to you.
Hey, Todd, healthy World Cancer Day to you, too.
Thank you.
You know, naturally, here at Breast Cancer Answers, we're used to talking about primarily breast cancer. But today, on World Cancer Day, it's really our honor to talk about cancer all over the world during this live 2-hour Google On-Air Hangout. And we particularly want to thank the organizations who are supporting this and joining us, including excuse me, the World Health Organization, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Susan G. Komen for the Cure, Stand Up to Cancer, and particularly the master organizers of all this, which is the International Union for Cancer Control.
You know, Dr. Harness, it really is. It's a wonderful day. We're excited to be here. Plus, we're also going to be talking with experts representing 6 continents around the world. Let me see, North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, and we skipped over that continent down at the bottom that's covered with ice. And Dr. Harness, I'm dedicating this World Cancer Day, my World Cancer Day, in honor of my grandmother, who is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. Her record's 2-1, and we miss her dearly, but I carry her with me every day as I do this work. Who are you dedicating your World Cancer Day to?
Well, I'm dedicating World Cancer Day to my dad, who had prostate cancer, his brother, who also had prostate cancer, and my dad's sister, my aunt, who had leukemia. And I have one other aunt who's had breast cancer. So we want to encourage everyone to please go on Google Plus and share with us who you're dedicating this World Cancer Day to.
Yeah, really, really nice, important effort. So I think it would be really wonderful, Dr. Harness, at this time if we introduced our first guest. We have Dr. Julie Cherode she's the Deputy CEO at the Union for International Cancer Control, really the team behind World Cancer Day. What a fitting place to start. She's with us right now from the Komen event that's happening. It's the Global Women's Cancer Summit that's happening in Washington, D.C. Julie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Welcome, everyone.
Well, it's a real honor for us, and today we're going to be talking, you know, as I mentioned earlier, experts from 6 continents, and the Union for International Cancer Control is located in Geneva, Switzerland. So for our worldwide audience, can you give us an update on how we're doing in the fight against cancer in Europe right now?
Well, I think Europe is leading the way in that there is very much a coordinated effort across the region. And it's an interesting region because it does have high, middle and low income countries. And so it's a very good learning place for those countries that maybe haven't had as much experience in developing cancer plans and implementing them. So we very much look to Europe as a learning tool for others around the globe.
Since 1933, the Union for International Cancer Control has been spearheading the effort in the global health community to accelerate the fight against cancer. And today's World Cancer Day is focused on dispelling damaging myths and misconceptions about cancer. Why are cancer myths, Julie? Why are they so dangerous?
Well, I think it's amazing. Us in the cancer community, we're very used to talking about these issues, and we tend to forget that the general public out there isn't so conversant with the issues that we talk about every day. And so these myths do persist over and over. I quite often meet my neighbours and talk about what I do, and they repeat these myths back to me. And I think it's a responsibility of all of us in this community to take the messages to the broader public.
Julie, this is Jay Harness. Let me ask you, of the 4 myths that we're talking about today, and maybe you could outline them for the group, even in Western Europe, which we consider to be so sophisticated, maybe you could share with us which of those myths you find the most prevalent in Western Europe, and maybe you can also outline for us some of the events going on worldwide, because after all, this is a worldwide day, if you will.
Well, it's a fantastic day today. We already know from our membership that at least 80 countries are celebrating World Cancer Day with events around the globe, such as this one here in Washington, where Susan G. Komen is holding a World Women's Cancer Summit. The most important myth for me really is the fact that so many people still believe that cancer is a death sentence. If we can't break through that big stigma, then people aren't going to seek help. People aren't going to be receptive for any messaging around prevention, for any messaging around seeking help early and looking for early detection, screening opportunities. And that's our only way to really start to address this issue globally. And I think this is a myth that's very common even in highly developed countries, and very much an issue in lower income countries that have less access to information about cancer.
And that's fantastic. And what's the second most common of the 4 myths that we're talking about today?
Well, I think something I heard actually talking to my neighbour just at the weekend, was quite shocked to hear that I'd just been to Kenya and was talking about cancer in Kenya. People still believe that this is a high-income country issue. This is not, it's a worldwide problem. We need to break through that myth and start to look at the global issue and work on global solutions to the problem.
Well, I think that's right. And if I've read and by the way, I would really want to encourage people to go to your home page, because on your home page, then you can click through the different subpages, and the information and data there is absolutely fantastic. But as we look at cancer as a worldwide and global issue, I believe that cancer is now the single leading cause of death worldwide. Is that pretty accurate? In other words, as a single entity, there's lots of things that obviously cause death worldwide, but cancer is more prevalent from a mortality perspective, I believe, from your website, than HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I think this is again one of the common misconceptions, particularly in lower middle income countries, that it's infections that are killing people around the globe. And we do know that cancer is much higher incidence in these countries. It's not the #1 killer around globally. That is definitely cardiovascular disease, and cancer, along with its other non-communicable disease partners in as far as advocacy is concerned, diabetes, lung disease, and heart disease, accounts for 63% of the global burden, death burden every year. But what we're seeing is a poor investment in NCDs. Only 3% of overseas development aid actually gets invested in this area. So we're seeing a massive disparity between the need and the funding that's going on. So particularly low-income countries are struggling to address what is a growing burden.
Well, she's Dr. Julie Terode, and she's with the Union for International Cancer Control. For more information, you can join them on the web at uicc.org. That's uicc.org. Julie, thank you so much for joining us on this very special World Cancer Day.
Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Harness, we have experts around the world that are going to be joining us. What do you say right now we go out to Japan and talk with Dr. Kurinami, and he's with us right now early in the morning in Japan. Dr. Kurinami, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Jay. And thank you very much for your invitation to this meeting.
It is our honor. Now, for the audience that's just tuning in, this interview is coming live from I'm going to screw it up, but that's kind of what I do. Live from Kitasato University. It's the famous university in Tokyo, Japan. And Dr. Kurinami, if you could, in Japan,
yes,
Singapore, Korea, countries once renowned for low rates of cancer, cases have doubled or tripled in the past 40 years. So if you could provide for us, what is the state of cancer in Japan right now?
Yes, now the numbers of the cancer patients dramatically increase. Now, actually, more than 1/3 Japanese suffered cancer in whole life. So now government trying to screen and treat more efficiently and get a good result. So I'd like to introduce one unique successful strategy of the cancer. As you know, in Japan, gastric cancer is very, very common disease. Maybe I think this is the same trend in Asia. In Japan, we like the sushi or soy sauce, so that's including the more high salt. So maybe I think this is one of the cause of the highly incidence of gastric cancer. So we are trying to screen the gastric screening by using the endoscope, or try to pick up the early detection of the pylori infections. So this kind of approach, we hope decrease the number of the gastric cancer. And also the breast cancer, this is the number one cause of the women's disease. So we are trying to increase the numbers of the screening the percentage, because now the average of the screening percentage in Japan is around about 20%. This number is quite low than Europe or United States. So we are trying to inform the information of the useful of this program, and we are the free program. Government share the free coupon to the ladies, and please take an exam as a routinely. So the numbers is a little bit increasing. And finally, I think this is a very unique trial. Just we started, but the government trying to spread the target of the cancer education to the kids. So this month, we make the workshop, such kind of the cancer education program. Let's start from the primary school kids. So maybe the right education will maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Doctor, thank you. I know that it's quite early there. I know that you got up super early to join us today. He's Dr. Masuri Kurinami joining us from Tokyo. And
well,
I think
Todd, before we leave for 1 second, could we just ask him one quick question?
Of course.
Masaru, so good to see you, my dear friend. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know it's something like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning in Tokyo, so thank you for being
that.
with it. Well, you're
anytime.
You're a gentleman and a dear friend and a breast surgeon friend of mine. What would you say is the #1 myth in Japan about cancer? Because we're really focused here today about myths about cancer. We consider Japan to be a very sophisticated country. I've had the privilege of being in Japan 4 times now, and your health system there is very sophisticated. What would you consider to be sort of the #1 myth in Japan?
I think this is my personal, but most of Japanese doesn't understand the cause of the cancer, because this is not like the fate, because more people have to understand more scientifically. So I think that we need more correct information and education. So we need more effort. Yeah.
All right. All right. Very good. Well, listen, my dear friend, thank you for getting up at dark 30 in the morning to join us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much for your time. And, you know, it's really interesting as we're doing this, we're going around the world and talking with the leading experts in the fight. And we've got another one joining us right now. We have Dr. Lisa Newman, the director of the Breast Care Center for at the University of Michigan, is with us. Hi, Dr. Newman. Oh, let's see. Dr. Newman, can you hear us? Dr. Newman, up in the, sounds like your microphone has been muted. Up in the top right corner is an icon of a microphone. If you're able to click on that, up in the top right corner, we'll be able to hear you on your end. And she's coming with us from the Global Women's Cancer Summit that's hosted by the Susan G. Komen Foundation, and they are in Washington, D.C.
Todd, there may be another issue going on for Lisa. On the headsets that we have, there is a mute button in the cable. Is that, there may be another reason?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay.
Right, there we go.
Thank you.
So, Lisa, when you sign off, just as a real quickie, that little icon up there in the corner, if you would click it and then tell the next person, because that, when you change headsets, that keeps the noise level down, if you wouldn't mind doing that, okay?
No problem, we'll do.
Perfect.
All right, Todd, let's do a re-intro. My dear colleague, Dr. Lisa Newman, she's got to have a proper intro from you, my friend.
All right, I can do that. Pardon me. Okay, so my distraction, I had local television shooting over my corner while I was trying to do that. It was a little difficult.
Well, Todd, let me interrupt for a second since we're having fun. I now have local TV sitting on the desk right next to me, shooting straight at me. So we're having a good time here on World Cancer Day.
That's right. So joining us right now on World Cancer Day is Dr. Lisa Newman, director of the Breast Care Center at the University of Michigan. When we spoke with her last week, she was in Ghana, Africa. Now she's in Washington, D.C. Dr. Newman, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, Lisa, yeah, and as a matter of fact, it was really sort of fun for me last week. Speaking of getting a hold of you, here I am driving in my car to work. I'm trying your cell phone. I hear this overseas ring, and you pick up right away, and there you are in Ghana. You are going to be one of our experts to talk about Africa today. And, you know, first of all, I think you ought to share with everybody the kind of research you're doing in breast cancer, looking at genes and gene profiles and things of that sort, looking at black Ghanaian women with breast cancer versus African American women. Maybe you could just highlight that for us. I think it's just fascinating research.
Thanks so much, Jay. I'd love to discuss it. So this research and international partnership actually began more than a decade ago for me as an expansion of my interest in looking at breast cancer disparities in the United States between African American women and white American women. And of course, it's been well documented over the years now that black women in the United States are more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer at younger ages, and we are more likely to be diagnosed with what appear to be biologically more aggressive cancers. And one of the questions has always been whether these types of disparities are solely related to socioeconomic differences, or if they might be also related to primary biologic differences related to African ancestry and the genetics of breast cancer. And that's the issue that led me to start working in Ghana. We wanted to explore the possibility that African ancestry in and of itself might be a risk factor for developing a biologically aggressive pattern of the disease of breast cancer. And so I've been extremely fortunate and have been quite honored to be able to partner with the cancer treating facilities at the Comfort Teaching Hospital and the oncology team at this hospital in Kumasi, Ghana, in studying the breast cancer burden of Ghanaian women. And Ghana is the perfect country to partner with, not only because it's a beautiful country with a beautiful population, but also because its location in Western Sub-Saharan Africa is in fact an area where we expect to have shared ancestry between contemporary Ghanaian women and contemporary African American women because of the geography of the colonial era slave trade. So this research partnership began as an effort to study the breast cancer burden in both populations of women, but it's actually grown into much more than that. On the research area, we have indeed documented that African Ghanaian women from sub-Saharan Western Africa do have a pattern of breast cancer that is remarkably similar to the pattern of breast cancer that we see in African American women. That pattern being a very young age at diagnosis, more advanced stage distribution, and what we have most recently learned is that the risk of triple-negative cancers, the biologically more challenging or more aggressive breast cancers to treat, these types of cancers are more common in African American women, and they are more common in African women, especially Western Sub-Saharan African women, such as Ghanaian women. So we have learned some fascinating things in terms of the pattern of breast cancer, leading us to want to explore the genetics of breast cancer in women with African ancestry even more aggressively. But we've also learned some wonderful, exciting, and very, very gratifying lessons in terms of how to improve the standards of breast health care in countries with low and middle income, countries that are not as affluent as in the Americas and in Europe. And from that perspective, this international partnership has been particularly rewarding. We have opportunities to implement a two-way street of cultural and academic exchange, where students and trainees from the University of Michigan can spend time in Ghana to learn about healthcare delivery systems in Africa. And we've had wonderful opportunities to bring our Ghanaian colleagues over to the University of Michigan to participate in various educational exchange programs and training programs. So
well, Lisa,
wonderful.
That's absolutely fantastic. Let me ask you this. What kind of myths are you encountering in Africa, and particularly in Ghana? What's the mythology around the whole area of cancer? As you know, I was able to be there with you and Ben Anderson a couple of years ago. Yeah. We saw, big cancers, big lymph nodes, but there's got to be some real mythology, and World Cancer Day is a lot about mythology. So share with us your experience about what myths you've run into already in your work.
Well, interestingly, I think one of the top myths that we see in Africa that needs to be dispelled is pretty much the same myth that needs to be dispelled in the United States among women. That myth being that a diagnosis of cancer, and for women, a diagnosis of breast cancer, is a death sentence. And that is absolutely not the case. We do have historically very clear data demonstrating that the worst thing that you can do about a breast cancer is to ignore it and to leave it untreated. Before we had appropriate therapies available for breast cancer, there were hospitals that did document the natural history of untreated breast cancer, and that natural history is that it will ultimately lead to the patient's demise. What we cannot predict is the rate of progression or the pattern of spread of the cancer, but not treating the disease is the worst thing that you can do. And here in the United States, as well as in Ghana, we see far too many women dying from the disease because they are afraid to seek medical attention and afraid to seek treatment.
Very, very true. Very true. Todd, back to you.
Well, this has been extraordinary to get an update on the state of cancer in Africa from Dr. Newman. She's Dr. Newman. She's the director of breast care, the Breast Care Center, for the University of Michigan. Her primary research, as you heard, has been focused on ethnicity-related variations in breast cancer risk and outcome. Dr. Newman, thank you so much for giving us an update on World Cancer Day about Africa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a real treat. There's The information that you get on a day like this is just remarkable. The amount of people, Dr. Harnish, you can talk with. And right now, let's go to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and talk with their medical director, Dr. Jacqueline Miller. Hi, Dr. Miller. Oh, Dr. Miller, your audio sounds like it's up in the top corner. There's probably a microphone icon. You're going to want to click on that microphone.
Okay, I think I got it.
Perfect.
There we go. Okay, great.
Why don't we go ahead and reintroduce Dr. Miller, since we've now got her live and with audio.
So Dr. Miller is the medical director at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. She's with us right now. Dr. Miller, what do you say is the state of America's fight against cancer?
Well, I'd say that right now the state of America's fight against cancer has been very similar to what's been going on for the past 25 years. We've been spending a lot of time trying to make people understand, just as Dr. Newman just mentioned, about the importance of coming in, talking to your physician about your risk factors, getting screened, and ultimately getting the treatment for the cancer. So the state now is, we've gone a long way. We have decreased some mortality or some deaths from a lot of cancers, but there's still a lot of people dying from the cancers unnecessarily. So we still have quite a ways to go to show much improvement in those deaths from cancer.
Dr. Miller, that's a really good point. Let me ask this. I, as a surgical oncologist, typically think of my colleagues at the National Cancer Institute leading the fight against cancer. I think it would be really wonderful for you to share with us how the Center for Disease Control sort of leads that fight here in the U.S., probably involving things like the breast cancer early detection, cervical cancer. Can you elaborate for us?
Yes, that's a good question, because people always get us all confused at the federal level.
Right.
What CDC does several things in that charge. One of the premier things we do is our National Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program. What a lot of people know is the BNC program, or the Breast and Cervical Cancer Program. That program, it's targeting women who would be in our disparity range, the women who would not have access to care, the women who would not be able to afford getting the appropriate screenings, getting the appropriate treatment. So our program, realizing 20 years ago that there was a real problem that these uninsured women, low-income women, did not have access to care, it provides a way for these women to actually get the access that they need. We actually provide free or low-cost screening for both breast and cervical cancer. That includes all the diagnostic testing for those who are found to be abnormal with any of their screening tests, all the way to final diagnosis. And we also then have a referral to the breast and cervical cancer treatment program, which is through the Medicaid in each state. And for all women who are diagnosed with cancer through their program, they can actually get their treatment provided through that program.
Well, let me jump in for 1 second. I don't want to interrupt your flow here, but I want to personally thank you for having these programs. In Orange County, California, where I am, I do breast cancer full-time at St. Joseph Hospital in Orange. And we are, at my hospital, one of the largest providers of BCEDP detected breast cancers going into the treatment program. We're very proud of that. And I must tell you these, and you know, Dr. Miller, maybe you can even comment for just 1 second. The uninsured in the United States are not who people think they are. I'm dealing with people who are real estate agents and other, I mean, it's just amazing. And your programs are a real absolute lifesaver. So I just want to take the opportunity to personally thank you for all of the support you're doing at the federal level. And then as you go on telling us perhaps about HPV and other things that the CDC is involved with. And then also we're really interested in any global collaborations that you're doing through the CDC.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's always good to hear what's actually going on the ground. And then you're correct, especially with the economy the way it's been over the past few years. There are a lot of people who are very affluent who now don't have jobs and don't have insurance to cover a lot of the health care that they need, and it's a real problem. Talking about a few other things that CDC does, HPV, we'll go ahead and talk about that. We do a lot of work on HPV, looking at the target audience of who should get HPV testing. We talk about HPV vaccine for the prevention of cervical cancer. HPV vaccine is very important and a very high profile issue, and that this is a way to help prevent women in the future from getting cervical cancer. Other things that we do at CDC, surveillance. We have the registries, the National Program for Cancer Registries, works along with the NCI's program of the SEER, which is the Surveillance and Results Program. There we actually measure all of the cancers that are diagnosed throughout the entire United States. That helps us in a lot of ways. It helps us to determine who's getting these cancers, and we can do more investigation as to why, so we can help to prevent them. It also lets us know if the treatment, the screenings, and the other things that we're doing for this cancer are actually working. As we can see, cancer has been decreasing, especially when you look at things as cervical cancer. That has been one of the things we can really see with the beginning of Pap testing. Cervical cancer really, the death from cervical cancer and incidence of cervical cancer, which are new cases, really decreased. So we do a lot of work with that. And then we spend a lot of work with education. We have national campaigns. We have the Inside Knowledge campaign, which focuses about gynecological cancers. And we also have our colorectal cancer campaign, the Screen for Life campaign, which is to educate people about the disease and about what they can do for prevention of disease. And of course, I work with our partners, both on the local and national level, to join forces to fight against this disease.
Anything else internationally, Dr. Miller, as far as your counterparts in other parts of the world? Are there any cooperative efforts going on with your counterparts? Let's, as an example, Dr. Lisa Newman was just talking about Africa. What other, and of course, the CDC does tremendous research, as we know. CDC does all sorts of wonderful things. What other worldwide collaborations might you be having?
Right. We have gotten more and more into some international collaborations with cancer prevention and cancer detection. We spend a lot of time talking with people from national countries. We spend a lot of time with some people in some of the African countries. Our PEPFAR program is the program that deals with HIV/AIDS. We've combined in some areas and working with those programs to increase cervical cancer screening in those areas. As we know, it's a big problem in many countries where there's not access to screening, there's not the pathology to do the screening, and so we are working with those countries to determine how can they best reach the women, educate the women, and how to actually do the screening when you have women that are in very rural, remote areas that just reaching them is a difficult problem. So we have, over the past couple of years, developed a cancer global initiative where we're trying to work more. One of the things we're working with them is just, for instance, surveillance. A lot of times people from anecdotally know how many people come in for cancer, but they don't really know the impact. And if they're going to screen, if they're going to treat, they kind of need to know what's the impact of those treatments. So we're helping them to understand how to implement these sorts of activities also.
Now, Dr. Miller, could you do us a favor? On World Cancer Day, one of the real initiatives that we're doing around the world is we're working on dispelling the biggest myths. A common myth that people have about cancer is that cancer is a death sentence. Is that a myth? What do you think?
Yes, that is definitely a myth. I've seen that in my own private practice for years. We still hear that. It's sort of the fatalistic view that people often get, that if I get cancer, that automatically means I'm going to die. That's some of the barriers that we find where people who will know there's a problem but are afraid to come in to get checked because they don't want to be told that they have cancer. But we know that nowadays, if we're able to diagnose the cancer as early as possible with all of the wonderful treatments that are available, we actually can cure many cancers. And we also know for some of the cancers, such as cervical and colorectal cancers, those cancers can actually be preventable. If you get your colonoscopy and are found to have polyps that are not cancer and those polyps are removed, you can prevent yourself from that developing into colon cancer. If you get Pap testing and you find those changes early on the cervix that have not yet become cancer and they are treated, that can be a case of preventing someone to go to cervical cancer. Now, there are going to be some cancers that are going to be aggressive, and even when found, treatment may not be the best, and it still be very aggressive, and so there will be some people who will die from cancer. But we know that we can do a lot. I mean, when you look at survival rates, we look at stage, which tells us the extent of a cancer. We can actually see if you catch it when it's small and hasn't spread, you're talking a difference between a 95% survival for some cancers all the way to when it's spread down to a 40 or 30% survival rate for some cancers. It makes
Dr. Miller, you're just spot on. You're absolutely right about this. What are your thoughts? And by the way, what was your practice like before you were at the CDC? What type of physician are you?
I'm a general surgeon by training, and I did a lot of breast cancer surgery.
There you go. One of my colleagues. All right.
Yeah, so it was a passion to me when I came to CDC.
Oh, listen, in our line of work, what I find is a tremendous amounts of passion. It's really, really wonderful. So your thoughts and perceptions, we are just thrilled to have you with us today, fellow general surgeon.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. We're always glad to participate and help out in spreading the word, and hopefully it'll just get a few more people to understand what's going on and how they can make themselves healthier.
Oh, very, very good. Todd, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, Dr. Miller, thank you so much for joining us. For those who are just checking in, that was Dr. Miller, the medical director at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Thank you so much for joining us on this World Cancer Day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, Dr. Harness, it's a really, there are a few times in your life where you get to devote your time to a global cause and educating people around the world. I'm honored to do this. I'm also really excited to introduce our next guest, Annette Leo-Mattern. She's she's a member of the board of directors for the Ovarian Cancer National Alliances Board and president of the Ovarian Cancer Alliance of Arizona. Annette, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we've had an opportunity over the years to get to learn about your experiences, and we're excited to do that with the audience today. You've really experienced the fight against cancer from many different perspectives, as a patient, a survivor, a national advocate for ovarian cancer, and now a caregiver for your husband who's battling cancer. How do you not keep cancer from defining who you are?
Well, that's a very big question, Todd. What I have found is that it's been helpful for me to manage those cancers that have affected me personally by serving others who are on the path. So there are many experiences that we've had that helped me understand the disease, how to cope with it, how to take one day at a time, how to focus on what needs to be done today, not project too far down the path, find the best medical people available, surround yourself with hopeful people, not with the naysayers, and to show other people how to do that. And by doing so, that makes me feel as though I'm living a more purposeful life.
Annette, first of all, thank you very, very much for being here with us today. Annette is actually here in the office with us. As we try and keep our very tight schedule together, we're finding that we may have a hole or two in here where people are not quite showing up on time or whatever.
We're loving to have her here. She's a wealth of information.
Listen, are you kidding me? This lady is spectacular, and I want to thank her publicly for just a little while ago before we went on air to have Annette to give me a copy of her beautiful book. And I'd like you to share a little bit, if you would, Annette, with sort of the focus of your book and sort of what's the sort of take-home message, because I have the feeling that the take-home message isn't just for the U.S. or Western Europe or whatever, but it's a global message, if you will.
Well, the main message of my book is that these events are going to affect all of us. At some point in time, all of us will be facing something that is very difficult, that was unexpected. We have this idea that we're going to go through life and everything will be wonderful, and something catastrophic happens, and you say, well, how could this happen to me? And I would say that is not a very good place for you to spend your energy. The idea of the book was really to help people who are facing catastrophic illness to, first of all, get themselves organized, get a path to manage their situation, And my suggestion is find a way to deal with emotion, because that is not your friend in this situation. You need to get very pragmatic. You need to get informed. You need to get yourself in some kind of, on some pathway to understand what your options are, and you can only do that if you are dealing from a place where you're a little more centered and grounded. And so it's really an idea of that survival doesn't just happen to lucky people. It happens to people who can get themselves together, get the best support possible, and keep moving forward.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, as a person who is very much involved in a leadership role here in the United States, I'd be real interested in hearing your thoughts about myths that you've heard from at your level of activity within the United States about ovarian cancer, and then some of the things that I'm sure undoubtedly you've come across when it comes to ovarian cancer worldwide. Do you want to comment about that?
Yes, there are a couple of things that concern me about myths that I think are very dangerous. One is I've heard from so many women that if something was wrong, they would know it. And you're laughing because I'm sure you've heard it as well. It is not true. Many of these diseases will be in your body. They're quietly growing, and you are not going to know until, in many cases, some of these diseases, particularly ovarian cancer, may not present with symptoms until it has already gotten pretty well embedded. It's left the place of its origin, and it's now moving on to other areas. You have to remember, too, I always tell women, we are built to accommodate things growing in our gut, in our pelvic region. And so the body doesn't know that anything is unusual until now the tumor is pushing against the stomach or the bowel or the kidneys, and that's when you start to become symptomatic. And I will say that the other myth that I think is so very dangerous, and I'm watching the Twitter feed, so I've been seeing it come around, and that is the conspiracy theory. So many people believe that there is a cure, that somebody is keeping this under wraps so that doctors can continue to make lots of money off of cancer, and I will tell you that that is not true. That is just absolutely not. There's no possible way, if you think through it, there's no way that that could be the case. There are so many dedicated doctors, researchers, and scientists working on the problem of cancer, and we're making great strides. This is a wonderful time for us to have this, all of the scientific and biomedical research going on, but to believe that someone sitting on the cure is a very dangerous notion.
Well, could I jump in too? And,
Actually, let me do this.
Well,
now,
okay,
pardon me for 1 second, Dr.
All right, go ahead.
Somebody here's got to be the traffic cop.
All right.
And so there's a lot of traffic going on. We have a bunch to talk about with Annette Leomatter. Annette, be patient with us. We'll get back to you. We're going to be talking about ovarian cancer with you shortly. And I'd like to then bring us out to Washington, D.C. And joining us right now is CSI Miami star Ava LaRue. And she's also an All My Children alum and the national spokesperson for the Beckstrand Cancer Foundation. Ava, thank you for joining us. Oh, up in the top right corner on your screen, I guess it would be this side, is a microphone icon. And you'll just need to click that off because it has you on mute right now. And let me hear. No?
It could be in the mic. It could be in the cable as well.
On the mic is this. There you go. Now we got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
there I am.
Welcome to World Cancer Day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So if you could, for those of us who are watching this remotely around the world, can you tell us what's going on there today at the Susan G. Komen for the Cure event that's happening, the Global Women's Cancer Summit?
The Global Women's Cancer Summit, the wonderful thing that's happening here today is that there's an incredible amount of synergy between all the different aspects of women's cancers and cancer in general. I think that Mrs. Laura Bush just gave a beautiful speech this afternoon during the luncheon, being the keynote speaker, and she talked a lot about what they had been doing in terms of awareness, and what she and President Bush had done in Africa specifically, and how they had gone in a year ago and helped to refurbish some of these clinics where they could get pre-screened for cervical cancer. And just 1 year later, when they went back, how they had treated so many thousands and thousands of women and helped save all these lives because they had been screened early, had been diagnosed early, and been diagnosed at a much earlier stage than normal. Because in Africa, it's such a stigma to have cervical cancer. Their husbands divorce them. They're considered contagious. There's just so much that they don't know. They don't know how to do self-breast exams. They are as far behind as we were 50 years ago in terms of awareness. And and knowledge is so much power. If they know how to do a self-breast exam, they would catch cancer at such an earlier stage, and their chances of survival go up significantly.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up. I noticed when researching that your grandmother and your great-grandmother both passed away of ovarian cancer. We were just talking with Annette a few moments ago about ovarian cancer. Are they who you're honoring today with your commitment on World Cancer Day?
Yes, my grandmother and my great-grandmother I'm honoring today, but also one of my girlfriends from high school, Donna Logan, who died of breast cancer about 6 years ago. And she was the first time I ever saw what cancer could do in terms of financial devastation. And she was a school teacher, married to another friend of mine from high school who's also a school teacher, and she had to quit her job during her fight against her breast cancer, and that put them in a terrible financial position. They had to mortgage the house. In the last remaining years that she was fighting it, she was going through all kinds of experimental treatments, which of course are not covered by any kind of medical insurance. So it was thousands of dollars a month for the pills that she was taking, thousands of dollars a month flying here and there and trying to save her life, because of course they had 3 young daughters. And when she lost her fight to cancer, thank God, the day before she was diagnosed 5 years previously, her life insurance policy came through. And that's the only thing that saved them from losing their house and their mother and everything, from financial obliteration. And that's when I got involved with Beckstrand Cancer Association, because that is what we do in Southern California and the Orange County and Los Angeles area, is we provide financial support for the daily needs of somebody who's going through cancer and has had to quit their job or go on leave because while they're getting chemo and radiation, they simply can't work. So we pay for mortgage, we pay for rent, we pay for gas cards so that they could even get to and from their treatments, grocery cards, medical copays, all of those things during that 6 months. And I'm excited to be here for the Susan G. Komen event, because I feel like they are so amazing and have done such an incredible global, they're branching out globally now, and we're just this baby organization that's hoping to do the same and jump off into other states and help people in the same way.
Well, hi, it's Jay Harness, and I'm the breast surgeon south of you down in Orange County.
Oh, you are? How are you? Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. And we really appreciate the kind of work that your foundation does and the others who do that sort of similar work. A big part of my practice, as I was sharing with Dr. Jacqueline Miller a little while ago, is actually the underserved in Orange County. So it's just absolutely outstanding. But Eva, let me ask you this question. You are not only a talented actress, but passionate. Is your motivation and passion because of your family history and what happened to your dear friend, or what are the other things that are really keeping you going? And we love having you and your passion with us in this struggle.
Thank you so much. It is definitely my family members and my friend, but it's also now really seeing how this money is affecting. Sometimes it's just a matter of $5,000 or $6,000 that gets a family over the hump and keeps them from losing their house or keeps them from being kicked out of their apartment. And can you imagine fighting for your life and then also having to deal with, where am I going to live? I can't afford to pay my mortgage. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything. So for me, I feel like, oh my gosh, it's just a matter of a few $1,000s sometimes to help them get through this time. But I meeting these people and seeing their struggle and seeing how much help we can do on such a grand scale. And, you know, it's not just the underserved. It's a lot of people who are middle income or even upper middle income families who I met these two lawyers through Beckstrand. The mother confided to me that they were making about $800,000 a year. So they were living a lovely life, 2 BMWs and a lovely house in a beautiful neighborhood. And their 4-year-old got leukemia. And her first stay in the hospital was 6 straight months, to the tune of a $1.5 million medical bill, which they had a 20% copay on. She said the baby fought it for 3 years, in and out of the hospital for huge, long amounts of stay in the hospital. And after 2 years, because the mother had to quit her job as a lawyer to be in the hospital every day with the baby, and they were destitute in a matter of years. Wow. It can happen to anyone. No one is immune.
Listen, and I've been focused on breast cancer for 28 years. I've seen these stories. I've seen exactly the kinds of things that you're talking about. Now, are more of your colleagues in the entertainment industry becoming involved? There are some other folks like yourself who are involved. And what can we do to get more passion out of the entertainment industry, do you think?
I do think there are several actresses that are involved. I believe Reese Witherspoon is with Avon. I'm not sure. I think she's doing some work with Avon. I'm not sure who's doing Revlon, but I know they kind of have a revolving door of women who are coming in and lending their name and their support. For me, I just fell in love with the mission of what we were specifically doing and how we were helping so many people and putting right now, just with our small, just in the Orange County and Los Angeles area, we're putting $40,000 a month with our small organization directly into the pockets of the patients who need it.
Wow.
And then we're also funding other programs for the hospitals, like therapy, art therapy for the children in the children's hospitals. So I just know we can do something bigger and on a larger scale. I know every city needs this. Yes. I know across America and obviously every city in the world. But so we're starting small, but that's, I think, what keeps me passionate, is there's just too many people that just need sometimes just that small amount to help them through.
Right. No,
that's what keeps me in love with it.
All right. Well, you're absolutely right. So we got to figure out a way how to bottle you. I mean, this passion is absolutely fantastic. Now,
thank you.
As you have gotten involved in this world of ours, in the world of cancer, and we have lots of passionate people, and we really welcome you and embrace you in our world.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let me ask you this: what sort of myths have you heard about? World Cancer Day is focused on the myths, that cancer is a death sentence, that it's fate, that it only affects the wealthy, that it's just a disease, like sort of, so what, it doesn't have an economic impact. As you've gotten involved in all this, what sort of myths or things you heard about that you want to share with us?
It's interesting because as you say as you list those myths, those are some of the same myths that they used with AIDS 10 years ago. It was only these people. It was only those people. It was death sentence. It was this, it was that, it was the other. And we found that not only is it curable, but and people can live with it, but it doesn't just belong to this group or just to that group or just to the other group. Cancer touches everybody. There's nobody that's immune to cancer. And I think one of the most powerful tools that we have that Susan G. Komen does so well is awareness and obviously research. But the awareness programs, the knowledge is complete power, and it's the opportunity to take back the power of your own body and know we all know when there's something wrong. Whether we want to address it or not, that's a completely another issue. We're busy, we have busy lives, we're all multitasking, and we put our health on the very back burner until it's too late. And I think it's early diagnosis, which then is curable.
Sure.
When we have an early diagnosis, it's almost always curable, and that is what is key.
Yep, no, I absolutely agree with you. Now, tell me, how does the Beckstrand Foundation raise its money? This is an opportunity to speak globally about how your foundation raises its money. Tell us a little bit about that.
We, Beckstrand, well, we're actually Beckstrand Association.
Okay.
Beckstrand Cancer Association.
Okay, sorry about that.
But no, that's okay. But we our only tool to raise money right now, because like I said, we're a small association, a small organization, is our gala every year. We have a rather large gala in the Orange County area once a year, and for the last 3 years in a row, we've raised over $1.3 million each gala.
Wow.
And that money goes directly into the pockets of our patients and into our
well, now listen, since I live in Orange County,
have you been? Have you come?
No, I don't
Wait
think
a second.
Oh, you're missing a really good party, my friend.
Okay. Now
you have to come next October. You'll sit right next to me.
Thank you, I will.
Okay.
There's no doubt that I've got to keep us on clock. So
okay, sorry.
Ava, this is a great conversation. The insight that you're providing is really helpful. Beckstrand Cancer Foundation. If you want more information, you can go to beckstrand.org. And we're so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for joining us on World Cancer Day.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So, Dr. Harness, I know we've got a busy schedule, and I'll tell you, we're going to be joined in just a moment by Dr. Julie.
Thank you. They're so lovely.
Pardon me in the background there. We're going to be joined by Dr. Julie Gerberding she's a former director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and she's with Merck Vaccines, and she's sitting right now with us on her way into the chair at the event, the Global Women Cancer Summit in Washington, D.C. Dr. Harness, I know you're laughing at me, but I don't appreciate it. You try to buy time a little bit like that. Dr. Harness, your audio is if there's somebody who can, if Dr. Harness
it actually looks to me that is my absolutely distinguished beard-wearing colleague, Dr. Ben Anderson, who's just slipped onto the headset. So,
Dr. Anderson,
including the beard.
Yeah, Ben, good to see you.
All
Todd,
right,
go ahead. We got to formally introduce my distinguished colleague here. Okay?
I'd be happy to. So we're joined right now by a member of the board of directors for the Union for International Cancer Control, Dr. Ben Anderson. He's the director of the Hutchinson Center-based Breast Health Global Initiative and Seattle Cancer Care Alliance Breast Health Clinic. Dr. Anderson, thank you so much for joining us from DC.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
So, Ben, great to see you, my friend. And as I said to Lisa Newman a little while ago, I have such fond memories of joining you, I guess 2 years ago now, over in Ghana. But when Google first contacted us, literally that night, I was on the telephone to you. And Google called us a couple of weeks ago and said, World Cancer Day, can you guys pull this off? And Todd and I are working the telephones. I said, I absolutely have to call Ben Anderson because I don't know of a single person who knows more about at least the world of breast cancer on a global basis than that you do. So Ben, maybe you can give us a little bit of an overview of the Breast Health Global Initiative and some of your perspectives. As you know, we're talking about myths today in cancer. Listen, man, you're on. Go for it.
Well, breast cancer is the most common cancer among women around the globe. It is the most likely reason that a woman will die of cancer around the globe, and it's the most prevalent cancer. So it wins the statistics, sadly. We know that if we look forward into the next decade and do the math based upon our best projections from Globocan, that something on the order of 17.5 million women will be diagnosed globally and with breast cancer, and of those, 9.1 million will be in low and middle income countries. We also can project during that time that 5 million women will die of this disease, of which the very significant majority, 3.6 million, will be in low and middle income countries. One unfortunate statistic that one could compare this to, that would suggest that in the next 10 years, we will lose more women in low and middle income countries to breast cancer than Jewish women that were lost in the Holocaust. So these are staggering figures and ones that really need to be addressed.